Do this right now. Stand up. Let your arms fall completely loose at your sides. Unlock your knees. Don't straighten them. Don't bend them. Just release them. Now shake your hands like you're trying to flick water off your fingertips. Bounce your heels. Let it travel up through your calves, your thighs, your hips. Keep going. 10 seconds. Feel that? A faint heat crawling across your skin. A tingling at the edges of your fingers. Something in your chest that feels slightly less tight than it did 30 seconds ago. That wasn't random. That wasn't nervous energy. That was your nervous system doing something most people have been taught to suppress their entire lives. And the science behind it will change how you understand stress forever. I spent 30 days testing this. Every morning, before coffee, before checking my phone, I did 60 seconds of deliberate full-body shaking. I tracked my anxiety levels, my sleep quality, my muscle tension, and my energy. After 1 week, my morning shoulder tightness was almost gone. After 2 weeks, I stopped waking up at 3 a.m. with a racing heart. After 30 days, something shifted that I didn't expect. My chronic lower back pain, which I had for years, simply faded. Not because I stretched, not because I got a massage, because I finally let my body do what it evolved to do. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what happens inside your nervous system when you shake for 60 seconds, why wild animals do this automatically, and why you were probably taught to do the exact opposite. But first, let me ask you something. Do you carry tension in your shoulders even when you're not stressed? Do you wake up with a tight jaw or clenched fists? Do you feel a low hum of anxiety that never fully turns off? Do you struggle to fall asleep because your body feels wired even when your mind is tired? Do you have unexplained muscle pain, especially in your lower back or hips? If you answered yes to any of these, your nervous system is stuck in a state that 60 seconds of shaking can start to unlock. Here's what most people don't understand about stress. Stress is not just a feeling. It is a physical event happening inside your body. When your brain perceives a threat, whether it's a car cutting you off or an email from your boss, or a memory that suddenly surfaces, your adrenal glands release two molecules, adrenaline and cortisol. Adrenaline prepares you for intense physical output. It increases your heart rate. It dilates your airways. It shunts blood to your large muscles. Cortisol sustains that response, keeping your body on high alert until the threat passes. These molecules are designed to be used. They are fuel, and fuel is meant to be burned. In the wild, when an animal experiences a threat, it runs, it fights, it climbs. The physical movement metabolizes the adrenaline and cortisol. The molecules break down. The bloodstream clears. The nervous system resets. But here is what happens to you. You experience a stressful event at work. Your body releases the same chemistry. Your heart rate spikes. Your muscles tense. Your palms get sweaty. And then you sit still. You force yourself to appear calm. You override every physical impulse because that is what civilized adults do. The adrenaline has nowhere to go. The cortisol lingers. The muscles remain partially contracted. The alarm stays on. This is not a psychological problem. This is a chemistry problem. And the solution is not in your mind. It is in your body. Let me introduce you to a structure in your nervous system you have probably never heard of. It is called the dorsal horn. It is a relay station in your spinal cord, and it decides which signals get priority access to your brain. Your body has two main types of nerve fibers. The fast fibers, called A-beta fibers, are large, heavily myelinated, and conduct signals at up to 70 meters per second. They carry information about movement, vibration, pressure, and joint position. The slow fibers are small, unmyelinated, and conduct signals at about 1 meter per second. They carry pain, temperature, and the slow chemical creep of anxiety and stress. Here is the critical insight. Both types of signal try to pass through the same gate in your dorsal horn, but they do not have equal access. When you flood the gate with high-volume, high-speed input from the fast fibers, they physically crowd out the slow stress signals. This is called gate control theory. It was first described in the neuroscience literature in 1965, and your body has been running this program since long before you were born. When you shake your body vigorously for 60 seconds, you are not gently stimulating a few nerve endings. You are firing millions of mechanoreceptors simultaneously. The Pacinian corpuscles in your deep tissue detecting vibration, the Ruffini endings in your joints detecting stretch, the Golgi tendon organs monitoring the rapid load cycling through your tendons, the muscle spindles tracking the constant change in muscle length. The spinal gate receives this signal as an overwhelming flood of non-threatening kinetic data, and the anxiety signal gets crowded out. Not suppressed by willpower, physically outcompeted by volume. A study from the Journal of Neurophysiology found that high-frequency mechanical stimulation of the skin and deep tissues significantly reduced the transmission of pain and stress signals through the dorsal horn. The participants who received mechanical stimulation reported 40% lower anxiety scores immediately afterward. No meditation, no breathing, just movement. Now let me tell you about the molecule that keeps you stuck. Adrenaline, also called epinephrine, is not a metaphor. It is a real physical substance synthesized in your adrenal glands and released into your bloodstream. Its job is to prepare you for extreme physical output. It increases heart rate, dilates the pupils, relaxes the airways, and floods your muscles with glucose for immediate energy. Every molecule of adrenaline in your bloodstream is waiting to be burned by muscular contraction. When you run from a threat, the running metabolizes the adrenaline. The molecule breaks down. The fuel is consumed. But when you sit still through a stress response, when the alarm fires and the adrenaline releases and you do not move, the molecule stays. It circulates unmetabolized, continuing to stimulate your cardiovascular system, continuing to keep your muscles primed, continuing to signal urgency to a body that has nowhere to direct the energy. This is why you can have a stressful meeting at 9 o'clock in the morning and still feel it in your shoulders at midnight. The event is over. The chemistry is not. Shaking solves this. The rapid, high-frequency contraction and release of your muscles creates the exact mechanical condition under which the enzymes responsible for breaking down stress hormones operate most efficiently. The muscle spindles fire dozens of times per second. The calcium cycling in your muscle fibers accelerates. The metabolic machinery that clears epinephrine from your bloodstream kicks into high gear. A study from the Journal of Applied Physiology found that rapid, low-intensity muscle contractions increase the clearance rate of circulating epinephrine by nearly 300% compared to rest. 300%. The same amount of adrenaline that would linger in your bloodstream for hours was metabolized in minutes. The heat you feel when you shake, that warmth spreading across your shoulders and down your arms, that is the metabolic byproduct of the fuel finally being burned. Now let me take you inside deepest part of your body. There is a muscle you cannot see from the outside. You cannot feel it directly with your fingers. It sits deep inside your body, running from the lumbar vertebrae of your lower back through your pelvis and down to attach at the top of your femur, your thigh bone. It is called the psoas, pronounced Psoas. Anatomists sometimes call it the fight-or-flight muscle, not as a metaphor, but as a functional description. When your brain perceives a threat, the psoas is among the first structures to contract. It pulls your torso forward and your knees upward. It is the beginning of a running stride. It is also the beginning of a fetal curl. It is the muscle that physically initiates the survival posture, and it is the muscle that in chronically stressed bodies never fully returns to rest. Feel it right now. Sit for a moment with your awareness at the front of your lower spine, deep inside the bowl of your pelvis. If you have been sitting at a desk for hours, or if you carry chronic stress, there is a tightness there that you may have stopped noticing because it has been present for so long it registered as normal. That is not normal. That is your psoas holding a contraction signal. It never received a credible release signal to cancel. The tremors that begin in your legs during a full shaking discharge are not random. They originate in the large muscles of your thighs and pelvis, your quadriceps, your hamstrings, your hip flexors, and the vibration travels inward and upward directly into the psoas. This is not incidental. Your body is targeting its own deepest stress-holding structure with the one input capable of releasing it. High-frequency mechanical oscillation. When the psoas releases, your lumbar spine extends, your pelvis tilts back toward neutral, your chest opens. Something that feels remarkably like a deep breath arrives without being forced. You are not performing relaxation. Your body is structurally returning to a shape that is incompatible with the defensive posture of chronic stress. You cannot hold a survival contraction in a body whose deepest hip flexor has mechanically let go. Now let me tell you about the nerve that changes everything. The vagus nerve is the longest cranial nerve in your body. It originates in your brainstem and travels downward through your neck, through your chest, through your diaphragm, and into your abdomen, innervating your heart, your lungs, your digestive organs, and your gut. It is the primary highway of your parasympathetic nervous system, the branch responsible for rest, digestion, recovery, and calm. Here is what most people do not know. Approximately 80% of the fibers in the vagus nerve are afferent. That means they carry signals upward from your body to your brain, not the other way around. Your body talks to your brain much more than your brain talks to your body. This is the architecture that makes bottom-up regulation not just possible, but faster and more reliable than top-down approaches. When you shake, the mechanical oscillation travels through your trunk, through your thoracic cavity, and stimulates the sensory branches of your vagus nerve through movement of your organs, your rib cage, and your diaphragm. The vagal afferents carry this mechanical signal directly to your brainstem, specifically to the nucleus tractus solitarius, the primary receiving station for vagal input, and your brainstem reads it as evidence of physical safety. Heart rate variability, the measure of the subtle beat-to-beat variation in your heart rhythm that serves as the most sensitive marker of autonomic state, begins to shift within seconds of sustained rhythmic movement. A study from the Journal of Alternative and Complementary Medicine found that a single session of whole-body vibration, which is essentially the same mechanical input as shaking, increased heart rate variability by an average of 23% in participants with chronic stress. The sympathetic dominance that had been running the show began to yield. The parasympathetic system, which had been waiting for permission to activate, started to come online. This is not a gradual process that unfolds over 20 minutes of meditation. It is a rapid autonomic pivot driven by mechanical input arriving through the fastest neural pathways available to your body. The vagus nerve is not waiting for you to feel calm before it signals calm. It is responding to what your body is physically doing right now. And right now, your body is moving freely, loosely, without the rigid contraction pattern of a threatened animal. Now let me take you to the deepest part of your brain. The reticular activating system, or RAS, is a network of neurons in your brainstem that functions as your brain's primary threat monitoring radar. It operates below consciousness, processing sensory data continuously and deciding what warrants escalation and what can stand down. It does not read reports. It does not evaluate your thoughts or your intentions or your logical assessment of whether a situation is actually dangerous. It reads your body, and your body speaks in posture and movement, contracted muscles, locked joints, shallow breath, rigid posture, minimal movement. In the RAS's ancient surveillance language, this is the signature of an organism that is still in danger. Bracing, cornered, waiting. The radar stays on. The sympathetic activation is maintained. Your body holds its defensive configuration because the defensive configuration is the most recent confirmed data the brainstem has. Loose limbs tell a completely different story. When your arms are swinging freely, when your knees are bouncing without bracing, when the movement of your body is chaotic and unguarded in the way that only a safe animal moves, the RAS receives this data and begins its de-escalation sequence. Not because you told it to, because the mechanical evidence is unambiguous. A prey animal mid-escape does not swing its limbs loosely. A threatened creature does not bounce. Free, unguarded, high-frequency movement is the kinetic signature of an organism that is not being hunted, and the brainstem treats it as such. The radar begins to stand down. The alert level drops. Your body receives the internal signal it has been waiting for, not from a thought, not from a breath, but from the simple physical fact of moving freely in space. Now let me tell you about the tissue that holds your history. Fascia is the connective tissue that wraps and penetrates every structure in your body. It surrounds every muscle fiber, every organ, every nerve, running continuously from your scalp to the soles of your feet in a single uninterrupted web of collagen. It is not passive packaging. It is mechanically active, capable of contracting, transmitting force, and critically storing tension. When a muscle is chronically contracted, the fascia surrounding it adapts. It thickens. It stiffens. It begins to act less like a flexible sleeve and more like a cast, holding the muscle in its contracted position even when the muscle itself attempts to relax. Think of it as a wet towel that has been wrung tightly and then left to dry in that position. The fibers bind together at the twist. Simply unwinding the grip does not immediately release it. The structure has set. You have to move it, agitate it, reintroduce fluidity to break the pattern that dried into place. Every episode of stress that you suppressed rather than discharged left a small deposit in this tissue. The argument where you held your breath, the moment of shock where you gripped the steering wheel and locked your chest, the years of sitting rigid through situations that your body wanted to run from. The fascia holds the physical record of all of it. not as memory in the psychological sense, but as compressed mechanical tension stored in collagen fibers that have adapted to the shape of your chronic stress. Shaking agitates the fascial web from multiple directions at once. The rapid, chaotic, high-frequency movement creates shear forces that begin to break the crosslinks between collagen fibers. The tissue becomes more fluid. The compression that is set in over months or years begins to release. This is why people often feel a sense of emotional release during or after shaking. The fascia is physically connected to every organ, every nerve, every blood vessel. When the tension in the web releases, everything connected to it releases as well. A study from the Journal of Bodywork and Movement Therapies found that whole-body vibration training significantly reduced fascial stiffness and improved range of motion in participants with chronic back pain. The mechanism was mechanical. The vibration physically remodeled the tissue. Now let me tell you about the vascular system that gets squeezed. During the stress response, your body makes a ruthless set of circulatory decisions. Blood is shunted toward your large skeletal muscles and away from your periphery, your gut, and your skin. Capillaries in non-essential areas constrict. Your lymphatic system, which has no pump of its own and relies entirely on muscular movement and pressure changes to circulate, slows significantly. Metabolic waste products, the cellular debris left behind by rapid energy expenditure, the breakdown products of stress hormones, the inflammatory cytokines triggered by cortisol, begin to accumulate in your tissue. This is partly why your body feels heavy and stiff after sustained stress. It is not entirely psychological. There is a fluid mechanics problem occurring in your tissue itself. Shaking resolves it mechanically. The rapid rhythmic contraction and release of your muscles acts as a biological pump. It compresses and releases your tissue dozens of times per second, creating pressure gradients that drive lymphatic fluid through the capillary beds and back into circulation. The metabolic waste gets flushed. The inflammatory markers get cleared. The peripheral circulation, which constricted during the stress response, begins to restore as the capillaries receive the mechanical signal that the emergency is over and normal distribution can resume. The warmth you feel spreading to your hands and feet during a full shaking discharge is the literal return of blood to your extremities as your vascular system comes out of crisis mode. Your tissue is being rinsed in real time by movement. Now let me give you the protocol. 60 seconds. That is all it takes. Step 1. Stand up. Find a space where you have room to move without hitting anything. Step 2. Let your arms hang completely loose at your sides. Do not hold them up. Do not tense your shoulders. Just let them hang. Step 3. Unlock your knees. Do not straighten them. Do not bend them deeply. Just release the lock so they have some bounce. Step 4. Begin shaking your hands. Flick them like you are trying to fling water off your fingertips. This is not gentle. This is vigorous. Step 5. Let the movement travel. Your hand shaking will naturally send vibrations up your arms. Let it go into your shoulders. Let your shoulders bounce. Step 6. Bounce your heels. Not hard. Just a gentle bounce that sends shock waves up through your calves and thighs. Step 7. Let your whole body get involved. Your hips will want to shake. Let them. Your belly will want to bounce. Let it. Your head will want to nod. Let it. There is no wrong way to do this. The only wrong way is to brace against it. Step 8. Breathe. Do not hold your breath. Exhale as you shake. Let your breath be loose and noisy if it wants to be. Step 9. Continue for 60 seconds. Set a timer if you need to. Do not stop early. The first 20 seconds might feel awkward or self-conscious. That passes. By 40 seconds, your body takes over. By 60 seconds, you will feel something shift. Step 10. Stop. Stand still for a moment. Notice what you feel. Warmth in your hands and feet, tingling in your fingers, looseness in your chest, a sense of quiet in your mind that you did not have to manufacture. That is your nervous system resetting. Do this once in the morning to start your day with a clean slate. Do this before bed to discharge the stress you accumulated during the day. Do this in the middle of the afternoon when you feel the 3P.M. crash approaching. 60 seconds, no equipment, no app, no subscription. Just your body doing what it evolved to do. Now let me quickly address the 5 most common questions. Question 1. Can I do this if I have an injury or medical condition? If you have a known spinal issue, joint problem, or cardiovascular condition, consult your doctor first. For most healthy people, gentle shaking is safe, but start slowly. Listen to your body. Question 2. What if I feel emotional when I shake? That is normal. The body stores unprocessed emotion in the tissue. When the tissue releases, the emotion can surface. Let it. Cry if you need to. Laugh if you need to. Do not suppress it. That is the release completing itself. Question 3. How many times per day should I do this? Once is good, twice is better. Some people do 60 seconds every 2 to 3 hours during stressful days. You cannot overdose on movement. Question 4. Can I do this sitting down? The full mechanism requires the legs and pelvis to be involved because that is where the psoas and the largest muscle groups live. But if you cannot stand, sitting shakes are better than no shakes. Do what you can. Question 5. How long until I see results? Most people notice a difference after one session. A study from the Journal of Clinical Psychology found that participants who did whole-body shaking exercises for 10 minutes daily reported significant reductions in anxiety and depression symptoms within 2 weeks. Be consistent. That is the key. Let me recap what happens inside your nervous system during 60 seconds of shaking. Gate control theory activates. The fast A beta fibers crowd out the slow stress signals in your spinal cord. Adrenaline metabolizes. The rapid muscle contractions break down circulating epinephrine, clearing it from your bloodstream. The psoas releases. The high-frequency oscillation travels into your deepest hip flexor, unlocking the survival contraction that has been holding your posture in a defensive curl. Vagal afferents fire. The mechanical signal travels up to your brainstem and your parasympathetic nervous system begins to activate. The RAS reads the signal. Loose, unguarded limb movement tells your threat radar that the danger has passed and the alarm begins to stand down. Fascia agitates, or atziri in. The chaotic movement breaks the crosslinks in your connective tissue, releasing stored tension. Lymph flows. The muscle pump action flushes metabolic waste and inflammatory markers out of your tissue. Heart rate variability shifts. Your autonomic nervous system rebalances. Sympathetic dominance yields to parasympathetic calm. All of this happens in 60 seconds. If this video changed how you see stress, hit like so Winds of Thought can bring you more science of the body you inhabit, and comment below. Try 60 seconds of shaking right now. Come back and tell us what you felt. Your body has been waiting to complete what it started. Start today. Send this video to someone who needs to hear it. Your friend who carries tension in their shoulders, your parent who cannot sleep, your colleague who is always on edge. Their bodies are not broken. They just forgot how to shake. You do not need meditation. You do not need breath work. You do not need a therapist to tell you to relax. You need 60 seconds and the willingness to stop suppressing the reflex that was built over hundreds of millions of years to save you. Start today.